Okay, we'll call the education subcommittee meeting to order. We had asked the college to come and give us a 30,000-foot overview of the budget. So I'm going to turn it over to.
Literally. So I'm just going to go over some of the nuts and bolts behind it, and Provost Walsh is here for any educational things on the other side for the academics. So just to point that out. And this is a very first round. We're still tightening the screws and looking at things. I did have to plug in for the salary and benefits right now because we're working on a whole salary planner to be able to see everybody's true costs to do benefit analysis and things.
So if anything, this will be lower.
I'm so
No, hopefully.
Much lower.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
it should be, yeah, absolutely. So the tuition revenue for this year, we're going to actually keep the cost the same for students. And what we did this year was actually raise our fee structure because we hadn't raised that in a few years. So that's why you're going to see such a big increase, 28% for the service fees, because we took the service fees from $170 for a full-time student to $300.
What page do you want?
Page one.
Okay.
Here you go.
No, I see it.
So
I got it.
that's where the increase is there. $300 for a full-time student is more of a industry standard. So we went and looked at other schools around us to get the fee structures that they had and tried to equivalent it to that. And so we didn't have to raise the tuition price. It would just remain flat, and then that would be packaged in their financial aid. So this year, the projections that you had seen on this first page here actually come from a group that we put together last year called the Enrollment Strategy Group. And what they do is that's made up of our institutional research department, plus our registrar's office, our enrollment team, to be able to really take our data from years past and be able to forecast out for us what they think it will be for the next year, which is a lot better than what we've been doing with guessing in the past, is to have a group formed together to be able to do this. This is their second year working through this. And we realized from this, it gives us a better gauge from our institutional data that we have to be able to forecast out what it would be for the year. And we did a 10% decline in it just to buffer it for the prison education revenue. We were going to try to take that out of the budget as far as for the revenue side, but when you do that, it also affects our state aid. And when we report it to SUNY, we need to have the correct number in it. So we just decided what we do is we would lower it by the 10% to wait for the fact that
That's going okay.
Oh no, you
Okay,
can, she can give you a prison update because you
Yeah.
have it.
I can give the update. So as many of you know, with the strike at the prison, it did affect our program. So we had to seek permission from the state ed department to extend our semester for the prison program. So that is currently in place, and actually we've been able to keep the vast majority of students in the program. We lost only a few who were either moved or through various reasons needed to drop their courses. So that really saved the college around $1 million in revenue by being able to make those adjustments. Some of the colleges canceled their semester because of the situation they were in, but we were able to keep ours going. As a result, though, those students can't be then registered in summer one because they're already technically still in the spring semester. So that does impact our summer enrollment a little. And the reason we did forecast a slight decrease in the prison population was just in case there was any residual effect. And we didn't want to over predict our enrollment. So we are anticipating that it will be steady, but that there won't be any major growth in the prison program this academic year, just whilst things settle down within the system.
What is the prison program encompass?
So we're in two facilities. We're in Greenhaven and Green Correctional. The prison population is currently around 12% of our total enrollment. One of those prisons, Greenhaven, is maximum security. One is medium. And they both do associate's degrees in individual studies. Greenhaven focuses more on behavioral sciences because we've just created a 2+2 program with New Paltz. So they go from us then into the bachelor degree at New Paltz. So those are the two we have. We're in conversation at the moment with Hudson Correctional to start a program there, but it would be very small due to the nature of the population, but it's more of a service for them that we provide that. So we're about to, I think, launch that program in the fall.
And those prison populations are not included in your summary of the head count, correct, per county?
Did you include them in the head? I think they are in the
yeah.
head count, but we under predicted them just to give ourselves a buffer on the.
Initially, they weren't gonna include them, but like you said, that affects their state aid.
Right.
Yeah, so they are in there, but we've included less of them to be safe.
And we also have Brookwood as well, so,
Oh,
yeah. And we had talks with Kasaki Prison, but I think, we're not sure, if that's one of the ones that could be on the closure list, or, you know what I mean? There's other variables there. So, because they were really interested in joining the program as well. And what's nice is it actually takes the incarcerated individuals through a pipeline to be able to then go on to a 4-year degree. And we also have prior learning credits as well. So if they've had some education before, that can be carried into it as well.
So is it, I'm sorry, is the head count like per Greene County and per Columbia County? How's that
Overall?
separated out
Oh,
for the prison population?
I would need to get you that level of
I'm just
detail.
asking,
Yeah,
you know?
no, I'll follow up with that because I'm not sure at that level of the split. So I will check on that. We are capped. The college can only take 25% of its total enrollment from incarcerated students. So we can only grow so far. And there is a risk with having too much enrollment outside of the college.
Mhm.
So we try to keep that well under 50% between that and our college and the high school program. So we try to very carefully manage our prison population just to make sure we're not going above our cap.
Mhm.
But I'll get that.
The only
later.
reason why I asked is I just wanted to see, make sure we're not duplicated for paying for Ron as a resident and PJ
Oh,
as a
yes,
prisoner.
I see.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, good point. Yeah, I'll.
Yeah.
make sure I
And
check on
also
that.
we were able to, through SUNY, they fixed how the certificate of residencies works. Remember, they used to work that if you're in Green Correctional Facility, that's your home. Now it actually is based off where the incarcerated individual came from. So it actually increased our chargeback rates as well. Yeah, so that did come into play as well. So
Are you planning on anything for the thing that got passed in the budget with the free tuition for?
Oh, the SUNY Reconnect program. Yes, that's a good point. We're still digesting the full scope of the program because it was just announced very recently. But the SUNY Reconnect program is what the state is saying is free community college for adult learners. So to be eligible, they have to be 25 to 55 and not have a prior degree. And also they have to be enrolled in what they call high demand programs. Now, we don't have a lot of those programs. We have some of them. So for us, it would be automotive, computer science, environmental biology, cybersecurity, and nursing. They're our top programs. Our automotive and our nursing are already full, so we don't anticipate that will significantly increase our enrollment, but there's a lot of room for growth in some of those other programs. So our team are currently working to promote that with SUNY to see if that will encourage more adults to come to college. So that's where that program is currently.
And that would show up in state aid, that would be state aid.
Yeah, the way they're packaging that is as the last dollar. So students would still be expected
apply
to
for
complete for FAFSAs and apply any other aid they're entitled to. And then the state aid would then be the last dollar on that. Yeah.
So for our out-of-state and non-resident, I actually raised that for this coming budget year. And the way I looked at that was, as I had seen that our year-to-date numbers were over 100 grand. So I figured we were safe to say that we could go up another 20 grand in both of those just to offset it. So I did like an average between of what we actually were spending versus what we had budgeted for the last year. The continuing education I kept flat for this coming year, even though we do anticipate that we will probably have a bump in that. We hired somebody new in continuing education and workforce development. We actually poached him from Dutchess Community College.
But don't tell them.
Yeah. So he's working really right now with Pathways to be able to go into the 4 credit side, which is going to help us a lot. I know he's looking right now at like an EMS program.
Yeah, across both counties. Yeah.
Correct. So, and he's also meeting with the Mike Tucker and James Hanna to be able to work on some, workforce development pipelines in that direction as well. So it's looking really positive on that end. So we just didn't want to like put him all out and raise his
Right.
number to come in.
Right.
We don't want to lose him the first year. So,
Yeah.
but I do anticipate that we usually tailor over a little bit over 200,000 and that what we're doing too is we're scaling back on the enrichment per se, but also he realized we had about 4,000 classes in the pipeline for non-credit, and we're putting that down to about 150. And, you know, we'll have enrichment classes in there, but we'll also have non-credit pipelines into the for-credit program as a better bridge than what we currently have now. So for the revenue, it's, the technology fees and everything are based off of the head count. So that, like I said, we raised that from 180 to 300 for the full-time student to align with the industry standards. And what we use for the fee that's in here as the service fees, we only include in here the technology fee and the health fee and some malpractice and nursing fees, because we don't really know in the course fees what kind of fees we're actually going to have. So we try to do a baseline on it, but that's why there's a 28% increase on that.
And that details on page 3.
Correct. Yes.
Some programs have specific fees that are not included in this revenue, but this is the generic fee that applies to all students.
Correct. And we're also going to actually sharpen our pencils on that as well, because we were noticing as we were going through the fee structure in general, there are other ones that we can actually bring up to industry standards besides these ones that derive right off of our budget, but can be an extra additive for later. So we're going to take a deeper dive into that over the next month to see what we can do there. The chargeback revenue is based on, which is on page 5, is based on the FTEs from non-sponsoring counties, and that's usually around a flat rate of $12,910. It's just showing a slight decrease due to the overall decline in the enrollment of what we have at the top there. So that's where that comes from. The gifts, grants, and contracts page. So we're getting $175,000 again from the state of New York. Last year we had used it for mental health and what was the other?
Health science.
Yeah, so we're not sure if they're going to restrict that money again in a certain way, but there was $8 million passed in the state budget to go to community colleges, and with it's based off of our FTEs, we get 175 of that. So they're doing a second year commitment on that through the state budget. We put in there too, we get about 65,000 recovery back from the foundation for our general relations manager over there. So we actually house out the money first and then they give it back to us as part of a reimbursement plan. We're also getting money from our foundation, $175,000 again for our year 2 commitment for our Center for Innovation, Teaching and Learning. And maybe you want to just speak to what that is.
That's really a new initiative we started this past fall through the help of the foundation. So it came with dollars from them. It's really to support our faculty in doing a lot of the changes we need to do, like increasing online learning, increasing our adult outreach, changing our pedagogy to match emerging technologies like AI and VR. So that's a really important scaffold for our faculty so that they can be trained and supported and developed. We also have had some very interesting conversations with a lot of the school superintendents. In fact, we've done a lot of them in Columbia County, who are interested in our center being a resource to them for the training of teachers. So that's something we're going to explore in year 2, because if we can help support the schools with some of those things, it would be a great service to the community.
And then we're also getting another second year commitment from the foundation for $150,000. That's going to fund our Dean of Health Professions. They were able to fund salary and benefits and some professional development for her in her first year. And they're going to do that again this year while we launch our LPN program that'll either come out in the fall or the spring, hopefully, this year. So we're just waiting on the state to approve it. It's been through SUNY and approved. So it's on its last leg before being approved. So
we are hoping it comes in time for the fall. We have a long waiting list for that
Good.
program. Yeah.
So what makes up that 500?
That's what I
Oh,
was
yeah.
just gonna ask. What's that?
yeah, that's what I'm reading off right now.
There's one more thing?
Yep.
Okay.
250.
Setting it up.
I know, I was
Way
just
ahead
gonna
of
ask
me.
that,
You said
Jim.
and, I think before that. so
Yeah.
that was it.
So 250,000, we're making a new request to the foundation for technology advancements. So what we're looking at is we're looking at getting Slate for admissions, what's Slate again? I apologize.
Slate is our CRM, so it's the software where all of our admissions applications come through and are worked and marketed. So it's really our main enrollment software that we use.
And then we're gonna go with, we have an Illusion product through Banner is what's called Illusion as the parent company. We're gonna try and get Illusion Experience, which is actually like an app and a one-stop registration for our students. That's all online.
It's just taking away the system that we had trouble with.
It's,
When we talked here
um,
last time.
I
there was-
mean, Campus Works.
Yeah, that whole
That's something I will come to right at the end.
Okay,
Because we'll tell you where we're at with that.
Okay,
So
all
we've
right,
been in
good,
conversations, but no, that isn't, these are more for like what we need to do as far as technology advancements and software and things that we're gonna need for the school moving
Yeah,
forward.
they're not infrastructure, they're software additions to
Gotcha.
change some of our services.
Ocelot, we're also gonna be grabbing, which is a marketing tool that has to do with AI, which is gonna help us in our marketing efforts moving forward. And then we're gonna move to a product called Neo Ed for our human resources, which is a one-stop shop from beginning to end of employee cycle. And what that also will have in it is performance management, job descriptions, hiring people. We actually just took on, because we had our other HR person retire, we have 2 HR people, one starting in a couple weeks, and she's going to help bring that system up to play, and we can really get people on a good heel going in and have training and things like that, all in a one-stop shop thing. And that's for the first year of it. So that's what makes up that 575,000 is basically what we're going to be reimbursed on things
So
for.
is this, are the money from the foundation, is that supporting like one-time things? Because is it sustainable? Do you need another 500 grand from them next year?
It's a good question. So the first 2 things, the Center for Innovation and the Dean of Health Professions, this is year 2 funding. Because what we don't want to get into the habit of, which I think your question raises, is all these startup projects that we then have to operationalize. So we do eventually need to operationalize some of these things, but we are looking to the foundation to get some of them started for 1, 2, or 3 years, and then plan to operationalize down the line.
The 250K, is that one-time expenses?
Yeah,
So really, you're just looking to operational, to continue the first 2.
yeah, the ongoing there will be
But
ongoing
there's gonna,
costs.
I'm sure.
Right.
Yeah, but the initial startup, which often includes implementation, and that's where the bigger expense is. So we will have to pay annual fees for some of these things, but it won't be the initial.
But you're also
Startup.
replacing some things, so
That's
those
right.
fees will go away.
Yeah, for example, Slate, we currently use a software called Liaison, which was much more expensive and doesn't really align with SUNY as a whole, whereas SUNY has a state operating contract for Slate. So most universities and colleges in SUNY use Slate. We currently don't.
Right.
So that's an example of what you're saying, where we're replacing something. But in the budget this year, there will be an overlap because we can't take the software out till we've got the new one in. So that will show us a savings next year because we'll have to run 2 systems for a little while.
We also are looking at the foundation in a different way and not doing the cherry picking thing all the time where we say to them, like, can we have this for this initiative, this for this? We're looking at next year, like really trying to figure out what does the college need operational wise each year from the foundation, since it is a foundation that is supporting the college to be able to work for operations each year. So we're working right now with the foundation executive director and their board to see if there's an annual ask that we would get for operational purposes to
Right, that would
balance
more
up our
back-
budget.
Yeah, that we
your
can count
budget.
on.
Correct. We use the foundation a lot right now for scholarship purposes because we have a lot of restricted scholarships that we use scholarship money for, but we can also use the foundation also as well for operational purposes moving forward. And they really want to do something more like that.
What kind of money is in the foundation?
We have like 5.8 million right now
Okay.
in the investment account. And then as I think President Drummer mentioned, it's public now. We're getting a huge donation from the Hewitt
Right.
estate. That's going to be about $5 million as well.
For scholarships.
Correct, for
Right.
scholarships. They designated it to begin with for people who are graduating. They're from Ankrum. So
Right.
they figured Ankrum, but they ended up widening it to the whole area and just make it regular scholarship support. And in getting that money, we also have to figure out how to sell off 3 parcels that they didn't sell.
Yeah, I
yet
remember
over
that
in
discussion.
Ankrum.
But if you have that funding, that will offset some of the money that you're currently using for scholarships that
That's
you
right.
could use for operations.
Yeah.
Correct, yep. And that's what we're looking forward to doing in the future.
Try to help it.
Absolutely.
Find a balance.
Yeah.
Yep.
We want to get to a point with the foundation where they have a spending policy that we can count on a revenue line
yeah.
every year.
That's
Which is
what
what
you
you're
kinda-
getting at, yeah.
Correct.
I
yep.
think where Jim was going to is that, you didn't want to get caught shortfall that you don't get funding next year. and
Yeah.
then Now it's an issue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Aren't you
No,
jealous of Harvard? He's got
Yeah.
$83 billion.
Exactly.
Yeah, I don't know if we'll ever get our endowment to that, but we can aspire to it.
But now that they've lost all their funding,
Yeah.
I think that endowment's going to spin down pretty quickly.
Yeah. Interest earnings, so I did reach out to, 3+1, I've been having conversations with them, and I'm actually, once we have a new president in place, I put it on hold for right now, just because of the fact that I want to make sure that new leadership can make that decision. But we have been in talks with them, and I think I reached out to PJ just to say, like, some of the stuff I'm trying to understand of how these banks work and everything and their interest rate structures. Some banks I've never even heard
As
of.
much as you can rattle them, that's how it works.
Exactly, right? So I mean, we had a good percentage
Right,
coming in. I think it was like 4.8% we could get from Genesee Bank, but then we put it on pause because of the fact that we were during the presidential transition. We wanted to just wait till somebody was in house to be able to really look at the structure.
That's in a money market or is that just,
They were in CDs
CD.
actually. So what they had said would be best for us is they identified probably 3 million we could move,
Mm-hmm.
$1 million that we would put in for probably 12 to 18 months.
right?
And then the rest of it a more liquidable money market thing
Right,
with a
that-
higher
so you
interest
can-
yield. Yeah, so we're definitely gonna look into that once the new president is on.
And do you have an investment policy?
We do not on the college side because we've never really done the investment side. What our investment account is called is just an investment regular bank account at the Bank of Greene
Right.
County that we throw all of our money into and then just keep the bare minimum, the operating to cover operating expenses and then transfer over the interest each month.
So is it staff or is it the board of directors that makes the investment decisions?
Board of directors.
Okay.
You're bringing a smile to PJ's face, by the way.
Well,
That's
I worked
good.
for, I tried begging Diane for years, okay, because all they are, 3+1, actually is a resource.
Yeah,
The decisions are yours, okay?
Yeah.
They will give you the rates. They'll go through 20 different banks.
yeah.
You know, they'll haggle, up and on, we'll haggle, but the decision is
It's
essentially
ultimately
yours.
comes
What you
back.
wanna do with it. So I mean, it's really.
And
it's a
Mary Ann and I
no-brainer.
were this closely and we were like, well,
Yeah.
the new president. can make-
Well, let's say they're making that with
Yeah.
county.
They're pretty
We
good.
got this rate here and they match the rate.
Oh, really?
We
Oh,
couldn't
they-
get them to actually give us a rate quote, the Bank of Greene County.
If you tell them, I got this and I'm pulling
Oh,
it, they
that's-
must-
That's what you gotta
Good to
work
know,
out.
Yeah.
You're on.
You gotta,
We'll call you, Jim.
He's deferring to PJ. Yeah, so because we actually in 23-24 we had about 126,000 in interest. So I mean, I did bump it up from 7. Last year when I did the budget, I just had kept it at what it was in the 2022-2023 actual, but we actually really outpaid that. So I raised it up to 60 in that.
But these are budget numbers, not year-to-date numbers.
Correct. Yeah, I'm gonna bring year to
We're
date
gonna-
numbers.
that's what I
and we're
wanted
back
to
to the
contribute,
finance
yeah.
committee. Absolutely. Yeah. Of where we're
we
at.
can have that.
And I have a little bit of that at the end of the discussion, kind of where we're at, revenue versus expenses and what, we're at there.
That we'd really like to see those.
Right.
The
We
year
had
to
we had
date.
asked to have
Excuse me.
Yeah.
more discussions about the college budget.
Thank you
so
for writing that down. I
that-
did.
At the last minute. and that's-
This is just an overview to kind of keep
Yeah.
us, get us going, but yes, we do need, we discussed that.
Well, I'm always the new kid at the table, so.
But that's good, no,
No,
because we're
it's
trying
good.
to.
Questions are good, yes.
It just helps us know where we're at.
Facility rentals, I put down about 60,000 in rental income. That includes, 23,000 from workforce if they're here till 2026. What I didn't include in there is if they decided not to stay with us as a fiscal agent, then we would, I didn't put down the revenue that we had asked for the position statement, just in case that doesn't go through, so. And additional 6,000 because we have been renting out for plays and things like that, so we're hopeful to get that back.
Okay.
Last year we had, I think, I can't even remember, what was the play?
Was it Willy Wonka's?
Yes, Willie
Yeah,
Wonka's
that's-
Chocolate Factory by Upstate Production, and they had a really good time. So we want to try to get that up and running again and our theater running if we can, do you know what I mean? Because it's just such an unutilized space right now since COVID. Programmatic revenue. So if we were to go, let's see here, oh, this unclassified miscellaneous, that looks really huge of 624,000. 49,000 of that is going to be for the tiny home that we already have sold that was built this year. Someone bought it before it was actually built. They actually built one house instead of 2 this year, and they built a bigger one than they did than the 2
It's
single.
nice. It's really lovely.
You know, I was watching a TV show a few weeks ago, and they were talking about tiny homes, and they build them, they had this custom builder. They had a family, had 3 little kids, a husband and a wife, going from a 2,500 square foot home to a 325
Wow.
square foot home.
Can you imagine? I
You'd
was
have to
out
build
in
me
my
a garage
apartment
away from
door.
the family.
But The tiny homes are becoming popular. Like Amanda said, this one sold before we'd even built it.
They start them out with chicken coops at the construction tech level. They
Right.
sell right through them. I mean, everybody's always looking for the chicken coops and
Right.
then they build the tiny home after that. So
Good.
it's a really good learning experience. And they actually pick different employees in the organization to actually build the house for. So they'll like say what they want on the inside. So they make the drawing and everything. It's a really neat project. We go and watch them
Really
and then
big, yeah.
yeah. I also put in 105,000 because we are doing a new initiative this year where we're going to be getting 105,000 for housing, a SUNY grant, a high needs grant, which we're also putting into the budget, a grant manager. We're going to try to hire someone who could actually tap into federal grants for us and state grants that we are not getting right now are actually encompassing into our portfolio. So, hopefully with that, then the grant manager can also help us with this high needs grant. So what SUNY will do is they're going to send us the money to be able to distribute out to all the SUNY campuses, and then we do the reporting feature. And what's nice off of that is they give you a percentage back in indirect
Right.
costs for holding that grant. So we're going to try to do that more often to diversify our revenue portfolio. I also, for the 634,000, put 50,000 in for the retirees medical coverage for workforce and just did an 8% increase on that. We do pay for 5 retirees for workforce that we get reimbursed from the grant for, and whether they're at the college or not, we still will be reimbursed for them for 26, along with about 350,000 and an extra 80,000 for the workforce people who are physically there and their benefits for the year we get each year. So, the fund balance, so our year-to-date, just as you know, of April 30th, our year-to-date revenue is about 13.7 million, and our expenses are about 13 million. So we're actually in a projected year-end surplus of about 688,000. So that fund balance that we plugged in for last year, we haven't used.
Okay.
Our
But we
fund,
have done a lot of savings this year and putbacks and holding back on hiring positions and
correct, yeah, about 1.2 million when we count what we actually saved in the medical costs by moving the 91 retirees to Medicare, and also for the savings of the layoffs that we did and the staggering of rehiring. So basically, I'm trying to see where I'm at on here, sorry.
You said a projected fund
Yeah.
balance of 600 and
Mhm.
something.
So we projected to have about 20,292,283 in the budget. And if I projected out the expenses to the end of the year, now granted in the summertime, we don't spend as much money as we do during the school year. I'm looking at about 19.6 million. So yeah, I think we'll be at about 680,000 in the plus this year, as opposed to carrying a deficit I'm hopeful for by the end of the year. So we started the year off with about 2.6 million in our fund balance, and we're up to about 7 million right now. So it's definitely seen a substantial difference. Yeah. Yeah. So the total instructional budget reflects a 1.4% decrease. We are going to be sharpening our pencils and trying to see if we can work that down more.
Right.
So that's equating to about a 292,000 reduction from the previous fiscal year. The reduction represents a balanced and intentional approach to maintaining the fiscal responsibility while supporting targeted investments in technology, innovation, and student success. So I did write down too, kind of where like the equipment is falling. Those are, and where the price of things are for that. We have to get a new firewall, a backup firewall. So the firewall goes down, then we have nothing to back that up. So that's about 102,000, and replacing IT switches. I'm not an IT guru, but these switches, that's about 99,000. And in the furniture line, we need some science lab chairs, and we deferred some maintenance from last year and put it into this year's budget because we wanted to really stop spending as much as we possibly could. You know, when we had the layoffs and things like that, we also really need to take a closer look. Did we spend capital money this year or not, or do we roll it into next year because of the fact of where we were at and trying to build that fund balance? So some of this is deferred over from
How are you
last
making
year.
out with, the last time we talked, you guys were handwriting checks and is that stuff?
Yeah, so I actually put money in the IT budget, about 50,000, to be able to bring Seekis in, which is a SUNY company who's going to fix our broken system this summer. I'm hopeful for. I actually have them, we have to sign back on to $40,000 of a service contract that we discontinued for Campus Works, and that's where I'll get into the Campus Works piece. We're actually working with a law firm right now over in Hopewell
I
Junction.
actually think we should go into executive
Oh.
session.
Yes.
Yeah. Make a
Oh.
motion to go into executive
Thank you.
session.
Second,
Hold on
all
one
in
second.
favor?
All right.
Okay. You're good to go. Sorry.
As we're preparing for the next meeting, is there anything that you want to see? You
Current
want to
numbers,
be the
you
year
know,
to date?
year to date,
Mhm.
very important.
Yeah,
And a breakout of these things, so like, even if you can discuss it with us, but we need a breakout of all that.
the
Those are
line
the things that
items.
were really, so we can kind of zero in and stuff's packed together, you know,
Mhm.
where you'll sit and say 300,000 here, 500,000 there, you know, we can see that broken out a little.
Yeah, I actually wondered, because I brought something with me just in case. So this is kind of what it looks like when it's broken down. I mean, of course, I need to like label it better and everything, but
Right.
this at least gives you
That
like
would be-
categories.
that would be-
You know what I mean? So that's why I brought this to say, is this something like you'd want to see, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Because then it actually breaks it down
Right.
and you can ask questions over and above that. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I actually like this detail. I don't think we've ever received this.
No, we
The
haven't
one
done
that
it.
we've just given.
I thought it
Yeah,
was interesting to see too, the county shares, just to see where you guys have been at for so many years, you know
Yeah.
what I mean?
this way we can go, we know what it was in 24, 25, and, we can
Mhm.
move on. So
We're
that,
looking at an 8% increase in our medical insurance.
Mhm.
And, you know,
I'm glad you kept it at 8.
yeah, it
Right.
started out at about 20. You know, they love negotiating and it got down to 11, but now they think it's about 8. So I did put in about an 8% increase on the other side too for the Medicare, because who just knows
Mhm.
what's going to happen on the first of the year, and also did an increase on, we do pay for Part B for people. So I did a little increase on that as well. Our vision and dental should stay about the same because that runs on a 2-year program.
Mhm.
And of course, we know vision and dental isn't the greatest insurance anyway. It's the medical that we're looking for. So,
yeah, the things that are packed together, if they're
The
broken
line
out,
items,
helps
we
us a
can
lot.
break out the year to
Absolutely.
date.
And then be prior to our meeting, rather than get the stuff just a few hours before.
no, give it to you way before,
We
yeah.
need it before, so that at least we can study it a little bit and then have.
Yeah, we had our board meeting last night, so I didn't
That's-
want to
I
run it by
understand.
them. So
Yeah.
I was like, I didn't want to do it at 10.
So that's why we were kind of really pushed back, and
Yeah.
No, well, we completely
concerned.
understand. We would love to come here, you know, as much as you guys would like to have us here to have quarterly meetings and things,
Right.
because you're a big sponsor of the college. So I mean, it's only right that we have this give and take
I think
relationship.
the
where we
more
can
that
meet.
people here can understand what's going on and if we connect, that definitely helps the whole situation. Also.
Yeah.
One thing that might be useful in the future, just to get a deeper dive on how we're doing with enrollment, it might be good once a year to hear from our institutional research director, because she can answer a lot of intricate questions around our changing demographic and
Right.
where the students are coming from and how our breakdown is between prison and concurrent enrollment high school. And
Mhm.
I think it's just useful then to get a deeper dive picture of the school and why we fund what we fund.
Do you get any, so in our budget, we have 1.2 budgeted for people who go to Canada.
Yeah.
Do you get feedback on why kids from Columbia County go somewhere else?
It's hard to get. It's not easy data, but there are ways of us finding out pieces of
They've
it.
done surveys historically.
You know, there's someone in my office, their son graduated this year and he's going Hudson Valley.
Right.
So I said, why is he going Hudson Valley?
What high
He said,
school
"I-
do you go to?
He's in
I say
Chatham.
Chatham, it's
Yeah,
Chatham.
it's amazing.
Chatham,
Chatham.
that
Yeah,
we do.
that's about it.
He just said he liked the campus better at
The
Hudson Valley.
Chatham
There's
situation
enough
is
reason when you're
difficult.
17 years old.
No, but I also think that Chatham, New Lebanon, Canaan, Austerlitz, that whole border, it's much closer to go to Hudson Valley. It's geography. And then there's I think, a more extensive course offering.
Sometimes it's the programs that we may or may not have.
As strong
Sometimes
as
it's
they have,
geography,
yeah.
but Chatham School is one where we do lose a lot to Hudson Valley. So we can get at pieces of it, but we can't always get all the detail. What we can do is see who's requesting transcripts of our students. And so, and that's why I think the IR person is useful to bring at least once a year, so she can just give you a deep dive into
Yeah,
some of
wouldn't
those
be bad.
things.
Mhm.
Is the nursing program, the cap on the nursing program still associated with finding clinical associations?
Yes and no, it is, but there's no reason we shouldn't be expanding seats.
That's what I'm-
Because, so our new Dean of Health Professions, has just signed 2 new contracts to extend our clinical sites into the St. Peter's system and into Ellis.
Okay.
Now, what that won't do is impact our enrollment this year, so we'll still be a 62 entry.
Mhm.
But next academic year, 26, we're going to expand our seats to 75.
Great.
and then gradually increase to a 100-seat entry in the RN program. The LPN program, we're going to try and start with a 20-seat entry. Now, that's where we do have to balance clinical because they need clinical and RN need clinical. So we don't want to over-promise.
Mhm.
So that's why, because we're bringing LPN in, we didn't increase RN seats this year, but we will next year.
Okay. Because, we know that that's such a hard.
Yeah, it's
gap in the
always
market.
difficult, but actually, and it's a very important point that you're raising. It's why we're also investing in simulation technology, because the law recently changed last few years, actually, where we can actually simulate 30% of clinical experiences. Currently, the college is using less than 5%. So if we can up our simulation to 30%, it eases the clinical strain that we need, and then we can expand seats.
That's what EMS and fire training is doing now, so they do simulations. Wonder if they could share some of this.
So we are investing in our sim lab, and we would love to make that a resource to the community. Yeah.
We would love that.
So when it is finished, which it should be over the summer, right, Amanda? You can come down and have a look and see if it would meet any
Great.
needs. in
We
the
have a
community.
sim mom, a sim baby.
We're getting
I've
some.
watched a couple
The
of
sim
videos on
babies
it.
are the best.
It's amazing.
Yeah,
It's really
they're
amazing.
excellent.
Yeah.
And so our new dean is really trying to up our simulation so that we can then expand our seats, and we won't need as many clinicals as we've been trying to get. So
Great.
it's
That's
kind of
wonderful
connected into
news.
the
Yeah.
technology.
Yeah.
They are also going to introduce virtual reality simulations so they can do lab skills through virtual reality and not just physical lab skill
Right.
space. So that's all changing. But of course, with the technology comes investment and maintenance.
Yeah.
So
Of course.
does that answer the question?
It does,
Yeah.
it does. And I just have one more question. In terms
Like
of
computer
the
saves
workforce
money, yeah.
development piece, how are the programs tied to the workforce needs in the community?
Oh,
What is
yeah.
that engagement? How do we know how
So,
one is supporting the
I
other?
don't think it has been as good as it needs to be honest. And that's why we've recrafted the continuing education role into a workforce development director role. So our new person who started about a month ago now, he's starting now to really increase that so that we have workforce pathways either directly into employment or into the college for longer programs. So you should see a shift in the next 12 months, but certainly beyond that, into the workforce readiness
Great.
agenda.
Mm.
And any of these people can also come at any time. So if you have an interest in the nursing or the workforce, we can bring those people with us.
Right.
And then you can get a deeper dive from them into what they're doing.
But just to think that we might have a 40-seat increase in the nursing program in the next couple of years is amazing.
Yeah,
Truly.
it's so needed.
Because you've had a wait list for a long time.
Yeah, it's very bamboozling to me. But because there is such resistance to the simulation technology, they were always capped because they couldn't get more clinical. But we have had a change in leadership in the nursing, and it's really benefiting us. And a lot of those programs, particularly the LPN, will benefit from the SUNY Reconnect program because a lot of older students come into those programs and will be funded. So I think that's going to be greatly beneficial to the community.
Is there much of a waiting list on the automotive side?
No,
Or the general
not
contracting
really.
side? No.
The construction tech, there is a bit of a waiting list, but what we did for both of those programs this year was to overcommit seats.
Mhm.
So you inevitably get some melt and students leave. So we've actually kept construction tech pretty much at capacity by doing that.
Mhm.
Automotive, we do lose more students than we should, and we're looking into that.
Are
right
you
now.
losing them to Hudson Valley?
No, we're not. We're just losing them from the program.
It's
Yeah.
too rigorous to,
I think it's a combination of things. I think it's more rigorous than people think because now it's so technological. It's really a computer on wheels now. And so the nature of the program has changed. But I believe that there's also some issues with how we teach it and how we assess it that is probably more rigorous than it needs to be for the level at which they're learning. So we're looking into that right now to see what is causing a lot of students to not be
You
successful.
still with Toyota
And Subaru,
and Subaru?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for
Thank you.
having us.
Thank you.
I like the bottom line number, at least for now.
Right, for now.
Hey, she said it can be less.
If it gets better, we're good, all right.
The only way is up, right?
That's it.
So that's very positive feedback.
I know, right? Thank you for getting time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care.
Take care.
See you.
Oh, need a motion to adjourn?
Oh, motion to adjourn.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carried.
You know, my mother. Like to call the Finance Committee meeting to order. We're gonna get started with resolution number 1, effective June 16th.
Second.
Motion in the second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carried. Resolution number 2,
Move it.
effective.
Second,
Motion in the second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carried. Resolution number 3,
Move
effective June 12th.
second,
Motion in the second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carried. Resolution number 4, authorization for the Health Department
Move it.
to enter into a
Second.
contractual agreement. We have a motion in the second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carried. Resolution number 5, authorization for OFA
Move it.
to accept the grant. We have a motion in the second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed,
good raise.
Therefore, right. Yeah.
that's right. Resolution number 6, authorization to award the bid. We have a motion in the second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carried. Resolution number 7, authorization for Department of Human Services.
Second,
We have a motion in the second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carried. Resolution number 8, authorization for the Department of Human Services to allocate $49,200.
Second.
We have a motion in the second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carried. Resolution number 9, authorization.
second,
We have a motion in the second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carried. Move on to public safety. Resolution number 10, authorization for the DA to fill 1 part-time law intern position.
Second.
We have a motion in a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carried. Resolution number 811,
Move it.
authorization to establish a response team. We have a motion.
move, or second.
Motion in a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carried. Resolution number 12, authorization to grant permission to the chairman of Columbia County Board of Supervisors to sign yearly contract with the New
Move
York
it.
State Defenders
Second.
Association. We have a motion in a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Resolution number 13,
Move it.
authorization.
Second.
We have a motion in a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Resolution number 14, effective 6/14/25.
Second.
We have a motion in a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Resolution number 15,
Move it.
effective 7/12.
Second.
We have a motion in a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Resolution number 16, authorization for the sheriff to purchase 4 patrol vehicles and related equipment totaling $222,000 and to amend the 2025 budget in the amount of $54,361
Move
from
it.
insurance reimbursement.
Second.
We have a motion in a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Resolution number 17, authorization to renew contracts. We have a motion in a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Resolution number 18, authorization for the sheriff to declare miscellaneous equipment.
Second.
We have a motion in a second. All in favor?
Aye.
I'm sorry, Jim. Can you go back to 17?
Sure.
17?
I'm sorry.
Authorization for the sheriff to renew contracts. with
That's for the,
six school
for the,
districts.
School resources.
school research. Is that gonna change? One of those budgets didn't pass. Do we know that or?
I mean, SRO could be something on the chopping block.
Right.
Meeting is tonight at 7.
But just so you know that New Lebanon's, we
It's
don't know.
not.
Germantown did pass either.
Yeah.
So I don't know how that would.
Yeah, Germantown's did.
I mean,
So
I
do
think
we-
this authorizes the sheriff to enter into it. If New Lebanon then
If
doesn't
they
sign
need that
it, I
number.
don't think we need.
I just want to make sure everybody knows. So go ahead. I'm
Okay.
sorry.
And then we're not spending it. either.
Right. Okay, so, resolution number 18.
We did it.
We did it, right? Okay. County government, resolution number 19. We
Second.
have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Resolution number 20, authorization for human
Move it.
resources.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Resolution number 21, authorization to appoint a member to the Environmental Management Council.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Resolution number 22, authorization to accept funding from the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation.
Second.
Conservation. We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Resolution number 23, authorization to appoint a member to the Columbia County Ag and Farm Protection Board.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Resolution number 424, resolution in support for the Harriet Pub and Underground
Second.
Railroad. We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? I'm just going to abstain from this vote because it hasn't really gone to my town yet, and it does go through Livingston. So I'm just going to abstain from it. Resolution number 25, authorization for the Board of Elections to renew a contract with Clear Count Software for 2 years to be paid by the Clear Grant.
Move it.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Resolution number 26, authorization for the county clerk to abolish one senior motor vehicle cashier examiner.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Public Works, resolution number 27, authorization to change the solid waste fund from an enterprise fund to a special revenue refuse and garbage fund.
I'll
Move it.
move it.
Oh, second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Resolution number 28, authorization for the chairman of the Columbia County Board of Supervisors to enter into a professional service agreement with Brennan Peterson's Inc. of Albany, New York, in the amount not to exceed $30,000.
Move it.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Resolution number 29, authorization for the chairman of the Columbia County Board of Supervisors to execute a new ground lease agreement
Move it.
with Crown Atlantic.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Resolution number 30, authorization for the chairman of the Columbia County Board of Supervisors and the Commissioner of Public Works to sign a construction contract change
Move it.
order.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Resolution number 31, authorization to purchase of materials and services associated with the installation of
Move
a
it.
fire alarm and door access system.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Resolution number 32, authorization for the Solid Waste Division to update its policies associated with municipal users as follows.
Move it. Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Resolution number 33, authorization for facilities to fill one vacant full-time senior building maintenance position.
Move it.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Wait, we have a question.
Excuse me. Did we get a second?
Yes, now we
We
do.
have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Resolution number 34, authorizations for facilities to fill two part-time labor positions.
Move it.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Authorization to amend the original agreement with Southworth Milton due to a replacement
Move
of the Mount Ida generator.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
it. Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Resolution number 36, authorization to purchase 20 Heritage Manure Park benches for the courthouse.
Move it.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Finance. Well, we haven't had these in a while. man. Authorization to award the bid for
Move it.
meat products.
Second.
Motion in the second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
I'll call Rick tonight and let him know.
Let him know.
Yeah.
Resolution number 38.
Don't call after
Authorization.
5 o'clock.
It's 37.
I learned that.
Yeah. Oh, believe me.
Yes, sir.
It is- I can be right over them.
Okay, resolution number 38, authorization to award the bid for canned frozen foods.
Second.
Motion in second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Resolution number 39, authorization to award the bid for U.S. diesel.
Move it.
Fuel.
Second.
Motion in second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Resolution number 40, authorization to award the bid for unleaded regular.
Second.
Motion in second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Resolution number 41, authorization to award the bid for liquid petroleum.
Second.
Motion in second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Looks like no one got it back.
Yeah, you got it back.
Resolution number 42, authorization to surplus a mass transportation vehicle, a
Move it.
2019 Goshen.
Second.
Motion in second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Resolution number 43, authorization to contract with repeat businesses for copy of lease
Move it.
and maintenance.
Second.
Motion in second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Resolution number 44, authorization to contract with MM Hayes Company, Inc. for UKG's Workforce Ready software for timekeeping
Move
software.
it.
Second.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. And resolution number 45, the Columbia Green Workforce Development Board is requesting the appointment of Robert Davis, Location Manager, Chatham's, Irvington, to the Columbia County Workforce Development Board. We have a motion
Second.
and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Motion
Okay.
to adjourn. I'd like to do that now.
Anyone else have anything else to bring before the board? If not, motion to
I did
adjourn.
want to mention, not to be official, but the benches that we voted for here at the courthouse lawn, I know they're expensive, but they were actually included in our original renovation back in 2014. It got pulled out of the project back then because we couldn't afford it and they patched them up. So it's been a long time coming.
They got another 11 years out of it.
Yeah, right.
Okay, we have a motion, and a second.
Second.
Motion, a second, all in favor?
Bye.
Okay,
Go
thank
enjoy
you.
this beautiful weather.
Thank you.
Bye.